Hand it that way. There's always a direction that's easier to work than t'other, isn't there? That's better. Whew. You've joined me on what has become really quite a hot afternoon. Hot and muggy. It's so humid. Every now and again the clouds come over, like now. Oh yeah, blessed, blessed relief. Right, enough of that. I am just doing the last bit of bed prep on this bed because I'm about to sow it, yay! And because I'm direct sowing, I need to bash it down to a tilth. Well, something resembling a tilth. So to this point, actually, where I'm at today, this whole bed looked very, very different a couple of days ago, before it had any work done whatsoever, and it was a bit of a mammoth job, and I filmed some little bits of it, so why don't you go and have a look at that now, whilst I get this bed ready for sowing, and then we'll reconvene and we'll catch up on what's happened between then and now. Just before I go to the top bed to show you what the next jobs are, I'm just showing you the garlic because I've come along today. I don't know if you can tell, if you can get a sense. It's all been mashed. Apart from those, a few on that side, they've been absolutely mashed, flattened, whacked, stems completely broken. I'm wondering if it was perhaps foxes or even a cat fight. Oy vey. But in any case, yeah, I mean, just utterly broken stems everywhere. Well, not quite everywhere. These are more standing at this end, but they need to come out anyway, so that's another job to think about, get on with. I'm a little bit concerned about them because of all this rain we've had, but never mind, that's not today's job. Today I'm focusing on bed number 1, which you might think, oh, there's not much to do, it's not too much to do, but when you hone in on it, oh my goodness, there's a lot to do. So, the reason, also I should just say that the reason this is a focus now, it's sort of on the priority list, it's moved towards the top, because I do want to do some direct sowing here. If this was going to be filled with plants I've sown in modules, I wouldn't be worrying about it, or, you know, not feeling the pressure, that's what I should say. However, I do want to direct sow in these beds, so I need to get them cleared. The Limnanthes douglasii, you can see, have completely taken over this bed, so I might leave quite a lot of it in, but I don't need that much, so I'll be pulling out handfuls. The verbena from last year, yes, cut that back. Do you remember the other day I was mentioning about the lily beetle? So when I'm down each time, that is a job to look at the lily beetles. But yeah, don't do too much here, because essentially I want this whole bed number 1, including all the 5 mini beds, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, for calendula and flowers. Then you can see my path. It's absolutely chock full of weeds. This path always seems to get particularly weedy. This was absolutely clear at the end of November, never mind. Then the obvious thing of all the old brassicas need to come out, get chopped up and added to the compost bin. More weeding, all the paths obviously. This one not quite so bad. So paths weeded. There aren't really very many weeds in the beds, but where there are, they need to come out. The last of these, that spinach that's about to blow, last of the chard, have it all out, give the beds a bit of a tickle in order to have a tilth, rather like I did with the carrots, that's fine enough for some direct sowing. Also just little things like the bricks need to come off now and be stashed, the metal bits need to come off and be stashed, the cardboard can come off. The straw, I've got straw there that was under the cavallo nero that were all massacred by the frost. I've got a ton of straw here. Oh, I can see that this damp weather has brought out the slimy friends. Yeah, all of this straw here. I don't need this for the flower beds, so I'll rake it all up, and then that will come over here onto squash beds, because then I can plant the squash through the straw. The straw will act as a mulch and a weed suppressant throughout the summer. And obviously you can see that once I've cleared bed number 1, this will be the next bed to tackle in terms of weeding, clearing off bricks, etc, etc. Anyway, yeah, this is undoubtedly, I'm going to just come and step back into this bed to hopefully give you more of an overview. Yeah, I'm not going to get this all done in one day. This was probably going to take me 3 or 4 visits, so I'm going to think of it in terms of trying to get this all done over the course of the next week, so that I can get it sown by the end of the week, the end of my week. I don't know when you're going to see this bit of video though, so by the time you see this video I might have cleared it and sown it. I'm not going to show you myself weeding because that's boring. I'm not going to show removing old plants and chopping them up for compost because that's boring, but I may show you little bits over the course of the coming days as I progress. Right, guard yourself, Vivi. Get stuck in. I thought I'd give you a little progress report, but my goodness, hi Pip. I really need to get my blades sharpened because my edges are doing me head in. But anyway, so where have I got to? Well, you can probably tell by the light and general noise levels, it's much later in the day. In fact, it's getting on for noon, and what am I doing? Sorry, just avoiding getting Pip in shot. This is where I've got to. It doesn't look a lot, does it? But my goodness, that's taken 3 hours. Time just gets eaten up. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful today. It's actually, can you hear me over the aeroplane? It's actually hot today. So let's just check, see how things are going. Over here, I haven't actually... ow! Sorry. Oh gosh, stumbly legs. I haven't done this edge in weeding because I get weeds in the edge, and I need to go in to get out this random raspberry, naughty raspberry. But what I have done, obviously get your feet, Vivi. I've weeded the path, as you can see. Yay! And then up at the top, I've pulled out loads of the Limnanthes douglasii that had crept all the way along there. I've pulled them out just so that I've got path again, so I can sort of step out. Obviously, the old verbena has come out and been chopped up. So with the all the plant material that I've pulled out, although look, I forgot to say, we're getting the first few flowers now. Woohoo! Although I forgot to sorry, not that I forgot. Oh my goodness, I'm all over the place today. Right, focus. Because I haven't gone to seed yet, they can all be chopped in there. So there's the Limnanthes douglasii, the old verbena, there's a big poppy. In this bed, look how bright the sun is now, there's my shadow. I had just 2 surviving cavallo nero from the winter. They're all chopped up and in the wheelbarrow too. I'm not taking this straw off just at the moment because the bed that it's going to this bed that needs clearing first of bricks and stuff, and I need to weed in this bed too. It's not as bad. This bed is nowhere near as bad in terms of weeds in the paths. I'll show you other parts of the garden another day that I've already tackled. But yeah, so weeding, more weeding, weeding, lots and lots of weeding. So the next job is to take out the blown spinach. That'll get chopped and into the compost. It's quite useful actually having that to chop for compost, because otherwise I'm chopping down all these brassicas and they're getting quite woody, so it's nice to have that kind of mix of brown and spinach. That's not the right thing to say. A mix of brown and green. Oh, and here's our Gary. Right, I think I'm just going to tip you all down because I need to speak to them first. Anyway, I think it's time for a gab, isn't it? Perfect timing. Yeah, I'm going to focus on getting these brassicas out and chopped. And then we can have another report and see if I can get anything else done today, or whether I'm ready to quit already. Oh my goodness, it's getting warm. Warm? It's hot. Woohoo! And now, after 5 hours, that's looking a bit better, isn't it? So, I know it seems like, let me come and stand in the middle here. Stand in the middle and back a bit. That might seem like a long time, but bear in mind, all of this old plant material, everything has been chopped down, and it takes ages. And then just it's a weekend day, so it's like Piccadilly Circus. Yeah, it's all been chopped down, you know, help it to compost down quicker. But yeah, it's mostly weed free. Mostly free of old plant material. I still need to give the beds a bit of a tickle to just get it into a bit of a tilth to sow into, get rid of all this old stuff, get rid of the straw. But yeah, I'm pleased with that. I'm pleased with that session today. Not least because it's been a long time since I've managed 5 hours in the garden. Yay! Oh my goodness, can you see all the snail trails? That's where the chard was, and they absolutely love being in the snails love being in chard. Also down here you can see where I've pulled out the brassicas. Oh my goodness, the soil felt and smelt gorgeous down there as I pulled them out. There's a bit of moistness down there. I wonder if it'll pick up, but you can sort of see how the lower straw is still quite moist. So yeah, get this straw off, get it onto the beds over here, and then I can get sowing in here. And this, oh my goodness, this whole bed is a sorry sight, isn't it? Other beds are looking a bit better. So yes, there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm getting it done. Woohoo! For now though, I need to go and have a bit of a sit down outside the shed, take another layer off if I can. Oh, and we're back in the present day. I'm very hot and sweaty after doing that. So this is the state of bed number 1 today. So I call the big beds 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E. And you can see, well, bed 1A I haven't touched at all. We're going to have a little look at that in a second because it's really come out now. But you can see 1B and 1C, they are cleared of dead material, they are cleared of weeds, they're cleared of bricks and bits and bobs. I'll show you what happened to the straw in another video. So that's all they've had done, whereas D and D are sort of in a way at the next. Oh, I've done it very cleverly in order. I didn't mean to do that, but I have done. So sort of weeding, clearing dead material out, dig, bash to a tilth. Because if I come a bit closer, you can see how, you know, this is really quite lumpy, bumpy, horrid soil. It's too lumpy and bumpy to take small seeds, because small seeds will just fall through cracks, sort of sit in sort of little pockets of air. They won't be in contact with the soil, and that's what we want. We want the seed in contact with the soil. So if it's just sitting down in a crack, it doesn't stand as much of a chance. Of course, weeds can manage perfectly well, can't they? So that got done day before yesterday. So the whole bed you saw in that bit of video was cleared. Then I came back the next day, and amongst other work in that part of the garden, I dug these 2 beds over. And this bed today, and you can see also it's darker, that's because when I first arrived, I put a couple of cans of water on it, then got on with other jobs, watering the rest of the garden, let it soak in, and after a while when it's soaked in, I can come along and sort of do a sort of a flicky bashy action with the fork, and you can see, oops, there go my glasses, hang on, you can see that that's a much finer tilth. I mean, there's still lumps in it, and as I draw my hoe along to make my drills, you know, if I hit a big lump, I'll just crush it. But you can see a seed going into that is going to be touching the soil, and when I gather the soil over, it'll all be underneath. Oh, that makes me laugh. That's a friend. Well, I could tell they were approaching by the squeak of the wheelbarrow. Now, just the other thing to say about this bed, really quickly before I crack on, is some folk sometimes ask me about this. I don't know how much it picks up on camera. We've not got very good definition in light today because it's so bright, but you can probably make out the bed is sort of quite flat, and then it sort of drops away at the edges into the grass here. Maybe it'll show up more here. Yeah, you can see how it drops away. Folks sometimes say to me, why are my beds like arranged like this? What's the rationale? Is it drainage? What's going on, etc.? Now, part of it is just that over the years adding organic matter, and you can see on those 2, even though it's been smashed down by winter rain, they're slightly proud of the paths. Obviously the paths over the years get really compacted, but one of the reasons the beds are a little bit proud is quite simply, over the years I've just added and added and added as much organic matter as I can. For those folk who are new to gardening, and you keep hearing people say adding organic matter, I think there's a lot of shorthand in gardening, and sometimes we forget that, you know, if you've not had any guidance from a parent or grandparent, you might not know. By organic matter, all we mean is plant material, old plant material, the stuff from the compost bin, the cardboard that I cover it with in the winter that the worms chew and take down. So because it's had matter added, it's just starting to raise the surface a bit. But the main thing around the edges, coming back to this one because it shows it more distinctly, I like to keep a bit of a gutter next to the grass paths. Let me see if I can show it to you more clearly. Hang on, this might get a bit wobbly because I'm going to film upside down. So obviously I still haven't trimmed my edges yet, but underneath them you can see there's a sort of, I don't know if you can make that out really, but sorry, I'm going to come back to this sitting position. I need to sit for a minute. But basically the edge of the path, it drops down and then it comes up for the plants, and part of the reason for that is it sort of chops off and it stops the grass growing back into the beds, because they've got, the grass is in mid-air, it's got nothing to grow into. That's one reason. But also I like to keep these gutters, as I call them, I like to keep them clear of grass and any vegetation and the soil and all that, because otherwise they act as a fantastic hiding place for slugs and snails, and I don't want that. Right, time to get on with some sowing. First of all, I'm going to lay my straight lines out. Oh, welcome breeze. Now I'm sowing flower seeds today. Whoopee! And I'm doing them in straight lines. Now I know for a lot of people they would be aghast at that. You can't sow flowers in straight lines, flowers don't grow in straight lines. And I totally get that if you're sowing them for your back garden, you know, a pretty flower border at home, that sort of thing. But bear in mind, what I'm sowing, it's a crop. It's not, I mean, the fact that it will be pretty in the garden is wonderful, and one of the reasons for me doing it all in this top bed this year is because that's the main path that everybody walks up and down to access their different plots here. So it'll be really pretty, it'll be gorgeous for people to see, but essentially it's a crop. And hopefully by having them in my lines, firstly, hang on a tick, strings buried, like I was saying with the carrots, it just helps me to keep track of what's weed, what's seedling. Hopefully I pack more in, better yield, all that kind of thing. Anyway, so my drills are done. I haven't talked about what I'm sowing yet, have I? Let's have a chat about what I'm sowing today. Wow, I was not expecting this weather today, my goodness me. I was just chatting with a neighbour about it actually and saying how I think we feel really, really hot today, even though it's by average, we're normally a bit hotter than this by this time. And I think it's purely because we've had no practice. You know, normally in March we'd start acclimatising, so that here we are at the end of May, yeah, we're ready for this. It feels like in the beginning of May we were still just finishing with winter. We've done kind of 3 seasons in 3 weeks, it feels. Anyway, yes, what am I sowing? I'm sure loads of you have guessed because you've been watching for ages. I'm going to be sowing gorgeous calendula. Now, this is a bit of a mess in here, as you can see, because I don't always sort the seed from the husk. I've got way more in the shed to do more beds. So I haven't got time for faffing for sorting seed from husk, so it's all in there together. And because of that, when I come to sow, I'm going to sow liberally. Hang on, we'll come on to spacing in a second. I always get asked, which variety of calendula do you grow, Vivi? I grow calendula officinalis. Plain and simple. The original, the best. The reason, although I think I've had some crossing over the years, I think other has got in from somewhere, not to worry. The reason I stick with officinalis rather than anything fancy is because, like I said, for me it's a crop. I harvest this and this becomes my skincare for the rest of the year, both oils and balms. It's all I use on my skin, so it's a really important crop for me every year. This year I'm going to do extra so I can look after, I'm sweating, aren't I? So I can look after friends and family too. I will, on the end of this video, I'll put the screen links for making calendula oil, which is the first step, and you can use it as that. The second stage is to make calendula balm, but you need oil to make the balm. I'll add those on at the end, but I'm sure the vast majority of you have seen them all. So yes, calendula officinalis. The drills are, it was my usual cat-handed way with things, 3, maybe 4 centimetres in places, just a little drill. In terms of spacing, I don't space them in the row. I will literally just sprinkle, 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 sprinkle as I go, liberally, because like I said, some of that in there is husk and not seed, so I'll just be really liberal. Between the rows, I'm going to try and get 4 rows in this bed. I always try and get 4 rows in. They will be about 20 centimetres apart, so 20 centimetres from the edge of the path, and then 20 centimetres within it, and then the 4th row will be 20 centimetres away from my mud path, grass path, mud path. Once I've got all these sowed, that's when I'm going to show you, because also the space at the 2 edges, I want space to make my little wattle fences again. Someone made me laugh. Beverly, it might have been you, gorgeous. Where's Beverly? Canada? America? Sorry, I can't remember. Ontario, I think. Anyway, was it you, Beverly, who said, I'm looking forward to you showing us how to make the waddle fences with a D instead of a T. Waddle, because I do waddle these days. It's not waddle with a D, it's wattle with the tea, but we'll get on to that. Crikey, it's getting warm. I'm going to get these sowed, covered, and I think I'm going to water them all again, because even though I really soaked this bed in this quite fierce sunshine, now it's starting to dry out, and I think I need to go and put some sunscreen on as well. So I'll get on with that, and then we'll make a fence together later. There was something I forgot to mention about spacing. That is, when they all come up, I don't thin them out at all. I find them to be, I'm just rolling up my line markers, I find them to be incredibly robust little plants. I let them fight it out amongst themselves, who's the strongest, who wants to grow. So yeah, I don't bother thinning at all. When it comes to harvesting, we'll do that later in the year, we'll talk about that together. And the other thing that I didn't quite finish off in terms of the rows, of course, if you're doing this for a flower border at home, and it's, you know, just for prettiness and you don't want the rows, prepare your bit of soil. Much as I did the bed here, you know, it's had a bit of a dig. I haven't added any manure or anything like that, but what I've done is I've created a fine tilth, and then what you can do is broadcast, scatter the seed, and then rake it in. Rake it, and then give it a jolly good watering, and within, how long will they take to germinate? Maybe in about 3 weeks or so we'll start to see something. But yeah, rows for me, however you want to do it for yourself, and for me, no thinning. The other thing I forgot to say was, I hope you've enjoyed that little moment in the Limnanthes douglasii, in the poached eggplants a few minutes ago. The other day when I was taking out the brassicas, and I was saying I don't feel too guilty about taking that food source away from the bees. It was pretty much over anyway, because there was so much poached egg coming. And all the time I'm here, I can just hear that gorgeous buzz of the bees working away in there. It's such a delight. Okay, what's next? Ah, yes, fence. But first I'm going to go to the shed and have some water in the shade. Oh, that's a funny angle, isn't it? But hopefully it means you'll be able to see what I'm doing, making this little wattle fence. I'm going to do one this side and one that side. And you know, in essence, I'm making a massive basket around the bed, but with a really, really open weave. Oh, here comes wind again. It's so nice and cooling. Yeah, with a massively open weave. Now, you shouldn't need any string for this. I didn't use any string last year. But then again, the plants were so bushy, I think partly the plants were holding it up. But if you are like me, and I'm sure some of you are in this respect, you will have somewhere in your shed a tin, a box with little odd bits of string that all measure, oh, I don't know, 20 centimetres or less. You can't bear to throw away. So maybe now is the time to get out your little box of ratty string. So I've got my short. This is why I'm always saying never ever ever chuck away your broken bean canes. Oh, I just see my neighbours arriving with some very exciting looking piping. Never chuck away your broken canes, because this is all going to be made from broken odds and ends. Just gather them up around your garden. So all I'm doing essentially, gosh, it couldn't be easier. I mean, it's not rocket science, is it? I'm just going to put my little short sticks in upright along. Spacing wise, suck it and see. This, maybe I'm going about 40 centimetres apart. I'll carry on with this off camera, you don't need to see it all. The only thing you might need, so they're all single, on the ends you might find that you want 2 sticks. Let's find a taller one to match it. You might want to put 2 sticks in together just to wedge all the ends in. The other thing I've brought with me down from the shed is I've got my little cane toppers. I'm not going to use these in the rest of the garden, but just on this row, because it's next to a footpath that other people use. I use it, and what I don't want is for someone to trip and ouch, eyeball themselves. Okay, so once your uprights are in, I've then got, again, just silly assorted lengths. These They're all way too thin to be of any use in the rest of the garden, way too thin, but they're perfect for this job. And literally all I'm going to do is, it's a sort of under over, or it's kind of north side, south side, north side, south side, north side, with this first one going in. Oh, it doesn't quite make it to that. That's what I mean. You might have to just jiggle your sticks a bit. Now, at the moment that wants to fall down because there's no tension. But with the next stick, we're going to go in the opposite direction, and so it will start to pull the sticks, all the sticks in. Ooh, try not to snap them towards each other. See how that starts to build up? So no string, and it's holding against itself. Fab. It doesn't really need to be much higher than that, but I might go and have a look at my other sticks to see if I've got any that are of the short ones slightly taller, because I might want to do a third course on this side, just because, like I said, this gets walked up and down, and you know, some battering and what have you. Oh, look at the colour of my cheeks. Suddenly the garden is full house. Oh, it's so lovely. A lot of folk. I mean, from my window I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over there. 7 folks. Suddenly there's 7 people, extra people in their gardens. Of course, everyone's down to water because it's that time of year where there's moisture down, but it's sort of 6, 7 inches down. And of course, we've all got seeds right in the top of the soil, or little seedlings or brand new plants, and they can't reach it yet, so they do need watering. So yeah, suddenly the site is busy, there's laughter, there's chatter, there's voices, and I love it. So I'm going to go spend some time with my friends. So for now, with my friends through the lens, my lens friends, I'm going to say cheerio to you all. I will see you all again really soon, I hope. I'm not sure what we'll be doing. It might be in the garden, it might be... Oh, I know, it might be some bits and bobs at home. But whatever, I'll see you soon. Until then, lots of love, lots of garden sunshiny love. Cheerio.